Welcome everyone to another nightly to update. A slightly different format because basically I worked countless hours the last week here, not all live streamed. And usually we live stream all this stuff, but today I wanted to bring as a summary because basically setting up all the netbook infrastructure right, and basically not only previously Spark and PowerPC, but also now the Intel Macs, for example. And they don't just boot right if you just try to PXE boot this in this pre-boot execution environment. That will not just work right. Apple, of course, implemented their own Snowflake stuff here, which is here listed as boot server discovery protocol. Initially, I thought, now do what complex servers I need to set up, but turns out you can mimic that with a regular DHCP server. Thank goodness. Of course, even that took countless of hours because they have old protocol and slightly newer protocol and then even newer discovery protocol and then 32-bit. They don't even properly announce on the wire whether they are 32-bit EFI or 64-bit EFI. I spent like basically 8 hours just getting all this pre-boot Apple Discovery Service Protocol stuff, and probably nearly the only one, maybe it's nearly only one. I can now automatically classify all the Macs we have here and pre-boot execute the right stuff. I also did this, of course, with Intel, regular Intel things. And so we found it absolutely mind-blowing what kind of stuff we found, right? Including, I didn't even realize with all the vintage and retro stuff like Matrox and ATI Mach 64, of course, being deleted. I didn't even realize that support for early, not i740, but early Core 2 Duo i900 Intel 915 graphics regressed so much. So I reactivated, we had the Intel driver, right? This is all the stuff. And there is, in my opinion, where it gets really depressive, right? People usually make fun of supporting here Matrox and stuff, which we all patched. And this is a cable. But Matrox and ATI Mach is one thing, right? In my opinion, that this driver is also bit rotting here, so I wanted to xorg xfvo Intel, yeah, let's verge, and so we didn't even ship this driver anymore because it didn't even like this. I update and maintain Matrox. So it turns out someone else also, like, yeah, 8 years. Is it even the right GitLab free? Yes, like 8 years. So other people, thankfully, also updated here some stuff. So it's at least something. But the last release is, I believe, 6 or 7 years old. So I updated here. It's like, yeah, we're not the only ones. Also, Ville Seriala wants apparently to use that. So huge shout out. Thanks for that. And so I updated this to the Git snapshot there because we didn't even ship it right. Like we had some, we already, because last release is 6 or 7 years old, we already shipped some Git tag previously that didn't build anymore because they also migrated. Knock on wood, this driver currently works then, so the next ISO will ship with an Intel driver, because the problem is you can't even run mode setting, right? You can't even run sway. And so this hardware, you see in the thumbnail, and so this is not, I mean, yeah, it's thick and stuff and fat, but like, and there is, Matrox is one thing, right? Like seriously, dude, that is not that bad. Is it even the, this seriously is not that super bad hardware, right? Yes, it's Core Duo. Yes, you can still, I mean, sure, Matrox, transmitter, Crusoe, okay, I hear you. AMD Geode, but it's like, that was top of the line, yes, soon 20 years, 15 years ago. But hey, that is really still usable, right? Like if you, like, or in ThinkPad and stuff, right? In my opinion, and that is what makes me really depressive in this modern open source world of like, we need to deprecate everything. It's like, and then on news sites, yay, they delete Core 2 Duo i915, like dude, like you can browse the internet. You can, like normal people. What do normal people do? They do their Facebook, their Instagram, their TikTok, whatever. Twitter, the side note renamed to X, but is still Twitter. watch some YouTube videos. Yes, it will not play full HD with modern codecs, but do all the drivers need to be deleted? And I don't agree with that, right? Like, even I could use it for most things. I could even write code on this, right? And just give me an VI and stuff. So updated that. It included some, it's like, needed to change priority. Other crazy stuff. So yeah, this is done now because, yeah, so you can't run Sway because it needs a GL driver. I believe I need to check. Maybe the GL driver for the early 915 probably also deleted already. We will probably later share, like, and subscribe. Maybe Patreon. I mean, not only we got all this working, but we further improve on that, right? And to have this on the to-do. So yeah, share, like, subscribe. I think I want to reinstate more. Okay, I added that here, even older. So yeah, share, like, subscribe. I need to urgently restore more vintage, legacy, obsolete Mesa stuff because, yeah, you can't run Sway then because it needs GL at least, or whatnot, blitting. You can't run mode setting because mode setting Xorg also wants glamour for some GL or XOR acceleration. And so yeah, that is why we need this integer, right? Like, if you want on somewhat usable stuff. Anyway. Then a viewer reported on our Discord that Sony Vaiopi, I believe, Intel Pulse Pro, also Intel, right? And that's the crazy stuff. People, I mean, not only this machine was previously perfectly working, right? This was my first hand. This was my high-end workstation, right? I purchased this first hand, that is mine, kept it here in working order. This was like state of the art, right? With the best Linux drivers, it run perfect, like this Compits desktop and stuff, right? With a spinning cube, and it was absolutely snappy. Yes, it's 15 years later, I get it, but like until 7 years ago, people just used it in the family. I mean, for sure, there are still plenty of people who still use that ThinkPad, right? The other Intel Sony Vaiopi, right? Previous video. Probably have this here on YouTube, right? A very popular video of ours. If you want to see it, I put it away already because basically that's a summary, right? This tiny gorgeous thing. Yes, Intel Atom, I hear you. Yes, it was even when new, not. But hey, that is even newer. But yes, when it was new, this netbook was slow. But hey, it's all, you want to code on the go. You want to code. You want to diagnose some stuff in the data center. It's like it fits in your freaking pocket, right? I think I have a video about this. And so that one, absolutely crazily network boots. It's like, yeah, here, it's like, yeah, that's my video, obviously, right? Obviously, that is how you code and style. It's like, why not? And so even a viewer, are we the only ones? No, a viewer on our Discord's like, hey, that hangs on boot. And yes, that's true. I even quickly patched the Linux kernel, just what you do on your Easter Sunday thing. You hunt some Easter bugs, right? Like normal people do. And so we have here Linux. We now have a hotfix for, it's basically the quick summary, right? Like usually, because it like this 1 hour there, 1 hour there, 8 hours setting up all the Intel cursed Mac EFI pre-boot environment stuff. So this driver hangs in infinite loops. You can't make this stuff up. Alan Cox has written this, I believe. Ironically, I wanted to improve the driver. I asked like 10 years ago, hey, can someone send me the specification? Alan Cox like, yeah, there's not much specification in 3D, not anyway. But yeah, 2024, this driver, infinite loop on here, this is how we write Linux drivers. It's like, yeah, this is because it's, the set power thing is infinite looping. I should have, where do I posted this to our Discord? Either in Peakbugs or did I post it in x86? I posted so much stuff for my testing spree here. I could also just open this, right? Oh man, our Discord is so busy now. Can't even find my stuff anymore. Maybe I posted it in Peakbugs because it's freaking bugs. Or not. Do you want to see this? Okay, believe me, this like the code is like infinite looping for semicolon or whatnot. So yeah, that of course that is disabling this LVDS set power. I believe I also have a Nokia booklet, and I mentioned this in the Discord. The crazy stuff is this worked, right? So these are some kind of regressions. So now yes, it's a quick hack, right? Like I don't have more than 1 hour to quick hack into Pulseboot GMA500. My point is, so this stuff should also work, right? I mean, not only we never had a 3D driver, right? Previous video, and I probably should reverse engineer that one day. But companies, in my opinion, like, when I'm building the industry most sophisticated testing infrastructure, and like literally everything I turn on has some bug. That hangs on boot because it tries to set power, which somehow never bit flips there, because the other code is like 4. I show it, you know. Otherwise, people's like, I didn't see that. Tar, CF, download. No, actually, no. Should I show you this online? Why should I untar it if I can browse it online like a normal person? Driver, video, no, GPU. Of course, it's in GPU. DRM has a freaking GMM driver, so that is LVDS. Probably that one here in set power. That is. Here, do while, it's like, 2024, and I said this in our Discord, we shouldn't write drivers like this anymore, right? This code should not have been written. I mean, and that is the thing, right? Like every week I find some major bug in the Linux kernel, whether it's fiber channel, whether it's serial attached SCSI, whether it's, yes, that's not the most popular driver, but probably there's obviously some glitch going on there, because I have a Nokia booklet that I obviously also tested, and the Nokia booklet boots fine. Of course, the Nokia booklet, maybe that's some different hardware state, how the BIOS initializes it. Maybe it depends on the display, but obviously Sony Vaio P and Nokia booklet both have some LVDS, I guess, connect display, but the Nokia booklet has an HDMI out, the Sony Vaio has an VGA out. So like the Nokia booklet booted, the Sony Vaio did not boot, like a Discord viewer, T2 user reported. I can confirm, yes, Sony Vaio P also hangs. So yeah, it hung here in waiting for PP status being on. It's reading in, it would need to be, I mean, maybe it's a bug that this is being optimized away. Maybe the rec read, maybe it needs some volatilizer. Again, I would need to debug this another hour or two. I didn't have another hour or two. With this quick hack here, that is, I mean, who cares about DPMS switching? It's like, it works for now, right? It's basically a midnight rush here, quick summary of the various testing. Then in this testing, I found basically booting the Sony Vaio P, by the way. I had this previously set up, and that's why testing is important, right? Even I sometimes don't make the most perfect choices. Here we have some dynamic configuration. For the Linux kernel has some 20,000 configuration options, of which most are unimportant. We basically want most modular, so that every random crap you plug into your system freaking works, right? Except some core things. So here for all the optimizations, you could build T2, and yes, it's some historic stuff, but hey, they mostly probably still work. And so we set here whether the architecture iterating through this, is it PAE, physical address space, enabled and stuff. And so previously, this high mem options, maybe even the Linux kernel changed them. I believe that probably did work previously, like a decade ago, but maybe with security mitigations or whatnot, because I don't find it very logically. So previously we had no high mem. I believe, as far as I remember, but correct me if I'm wrong, so x86 32-bit has a 32-bit address space, right? So meaning 4 GB, of which we cannot use all, because the way the Linux kernel is optimized, there historically was a 3 GB user space, 1 GB kernel address space, plus of course there's some IO space. And as far as I remember, I thought high mem previously was everything above 4 GB. Either I remember that wrong, or they changed it. But the thing is, I've won that already on the Nokia booklet, and that's why testing is so important, right? Like, I've not touched this in maybe 10 years, and now I realized, it's not working how it is now. Maybe they changed it, whatever, because all our kernels had even x86, because 686 is not Pentium Pro, so it is not building this PAE, physical address space extension, which is correct. And with this configuration, with no high mem, I only had 800 megabyte on the Nokia booklet, which has 1 gigabyte, and also only the 800 whatnot megabyte on the Sony Vario P, which has 2 gigabyte. Had I not tested all those configurations, because otherwise I tested here some Athlon, some WinChip and whatnot, the other AMD K6, right? They all had only at most 768 megabyte or so. So I didn't notice it, right? So testing, the only substitute for testing is more testing, and making the next T2 builds even better, because now I enable only 386, 486 get no high mem, because you rarely have more than 700 something megabyte for performance optimizing reasons anyway, right? And all the other builds, even if not Pentium Pro, we now enable high mem. I have the suspicion this changed the last decade, because what is now is, if you don't build with high mem for some crazy reasons, I have the suspicion they changed this potentially with security mitigations the last years. Because now no high mem is only 1 gigabyte for crazy reasons that I don't understand. Maybe security mitigation, page, whatnot, shadowing and yada yada, whatever stuff. So now if you have more than 1 gigabyte, again, apparently new to me, whatnot. So this is why now we build with high mem 4 gigabyte, so that you can use all your 3 gigabyte on this here, right? On MacBook Pro, MacBook even, MacBook. Actually, yeah, if you boot it as a core solo, right? Core, not 2 duo. But even on Sony, on Atom, right? And initially I didn't even notice, right? I only noticed this because I wanted to start Firefox and stuff, and I was wondering like, dude, why is it only 800 megabyte? It's like, it doesn't look right. So, yeah, testing, more testing, and everything, like 1 hour there, 1 hour there. So the next ISOs, 686 ISOs, not only previous video, T2 Linux, the only Linux distribution there on my main channel. Because like every time I test something, I find crazy shit, right? It's like, yeah, it's x86. Is it even maintainable? Somehow I can maintain it, right? I don't know what others do, but like if you test everything, you fix everything. Because previously we also found here that they had this, not only could we not boot otherwise completely full-featured x86 transmitter Crusoe and AMD Geode. So basically T2 Linux, the most optimized 686 and tested distribution, right? I also found after this previous video, just 4 days ago, after the video fixing the Linux kernel, the first time ever, so that you can build a 686 Linux kernel on an AMD Geode LX and AMD transmitter Crusoe, and no other people who patched this, they only patched the user space visible part. Maybe I'm actually the first time ever who built a 686 optimized kernel with conditional move and stuff like this. Maybe 4 days ago, a transmitter Crusoe and Geode LX was the first time ever seeing in 686 kernel, because again, previous patches only patched the user space visible part, right? So you would still have booted a 586 kernel, just allowed user space to use it. But anyway, maybe other people patch this. So the next T2 build kernel will have that. And then I also noticed with all of that, that is just someone needs to test it, right? And I tested so much legacy stuff, not only 486, Pentium, WinChip 2, right? The usual stuff I get out here and just use for the fun of it, AMD K6 and so on. With all of that, I have not even realized, and I intentionally had disabled SMP, right? Because why did I disable SMP? Because obviously all this 4 and 586 stuff, 486 kinda never. Yes, I know there were some cursed 486 SMP, but you couldn't boot a normal Linux kernel because symmetric multiprocessing was at its infancy. 586 even was extremely rare. So it doesn't make the most sense if even I don't have such a system. And Then I noticed, like due also on the Sony Vario P, darn, I have only one core of the, like Atom is already slow enough, and then you don't even have the hyperthreading. So I also changed this that non-486 systems, because obviously you don't have SMP there. So I now also changed new since today that we actually allow 4 cores, not more than 4, because even more just increases all the data structures, right? You usually limit this in the Linux kernel configuration so that data structures are smaller and stuff. If we set this to 8 and 16, which nearly nobody ever has and stuff, sure, theoretically there exist such systems and you could theoretically boot such a kernel on an epic thread-ripping Ryzen, but that's of course pointless. So reasonable Atom and stuff core do, like you usually have 2 hyperthreading and stuff, so at most probably 4, that's probably enough for 686. All in this, so this is all the stuff, like when you actually test stuff, then you find stuff, right? And that is what makes Linux distribution actually truly still optimized and supporting 686. Of course, I found some other stuff, right? Some stuff is not yet finished. We changed the initRD stuff recently to include other soft dependencies. I figured there is still some bugs, so I found another of my bugs. Good that we test stuff. And I also, for the longest time, it actually annoyed me what booting all the stuff. And again, all the stuff was not highly efficient, right? Because now I can turn any system on here and the network boot. My latest T2 installation can run a test suite, right? We actually done test suite stuff here, right? Not sure if I have here some Frankenstein build, but previous videos, we now have a full system test suite, so we can actually architecture x86. So normally this would be all, but illustration purposes only one, like arch Z and test Z and test. I wasn't even sure if that tests because I'm in the middle of a lot, as per usual, right? And that is now test suiting. So that's even booting that. It might fail that because I'm in the middle of changing some stuff. And additionally to synthetic continuous integration test suite here with QEMU and stuff and real hardware. Of course, it's a different thing. I don't have test suite for everything yet. It's a different thing to trying to use this stuff and wondering like why does my Firefox get out of memory killed because it only has 800 megabytes? Yeah, that's some stuff. I'm in the middle of stuff. I expected that probably. That's what we have test suite, right? Like not building some stuff and hoping that it works, but actually using it. And I could have just booted it and didn't even realize that it only has one CPU of the 2 hyperthreads. The other thing, what annoyed me for years I wondered, why does caps lock not work in the initRD? And it's a super small thing, right? But I sometimes like, you boot, here's some Nokia booklet, and your system hangs, right? And then like I usually press caps lock to see is the system still alive, and then like, okay, more intrusive, like press some keys, does it print? But obviously pressing some keys is more intrusive than usually it's my caps lock, or usually don't have numlock here, right? And turns out, so only today I learned, for years, I mean, it was never imported, right? Like I knew that, it's like, why does caps lock not really work? Like what's going on in the Linux boot? Like must be something, right? So it turns out I didn't quite get it to work, but the first step is there is, I looked up there in the full system, fully running system, like what's even going on there. So it turns out there is HID, input LEDs. That's probably one module here. I'm not yet sure, so I need to further finish that. So input LEDs, bridge, whatever. There's probably some more thing. So that alone is not enough, but it's like, yeah, so there are even more modules. We just added more cursed network boot things for dongles and more dongles and the most dongles. Yeah, modern life. Or you don't have USB, you don't have Ethernet. So yeah, that is why. So yeah, today even I learned there are special input LED handling modules, of which we apparently need more than that, because I added that and that was not enough. So that's probably, here's bridge. So there's probably more. I've just not yet check that. But that's probably enough for today. I guess that are all the major things. I hope you like this format here too, of midnight, instead of, because basically it were 2 hours there, 2 hours there. I even live streamed some quick test on Twitch, but basically it's also super boring. For hours, like I was network sniffing here with TCP dump on the server. I was analyzing network packets to get all this cursed Apple pre-boot stuff and auto-matching, like matching all the versions, which probably also nobody. Of course, there are documentations like boot with DHCP and stuff. This is like if you Google's internet, right? If you want to PXE boot Apple stuff, PCB or whatnot, this is how you set up. But there's like basically this setup or that setup that what I've done now is matching all the versions and stuff, and then overriding. I even even more stuff. Today I learned doing all this stuff because on a PC it works then, like on a good old-fashioned regular PC, right? Self-built PC works. Of course, somehow there were some explanations for some reasons of probably Apple doesn't enable it or whatnot. The Mac loads then over TFTP your kernel, either your Grub and stuff. That works, but then Grub doesn't have network for whatever protocol incompatibility, whatnot reasons. You need to run net grubs, like if you boot via Grub too. You then need to run net bootp so that Grub re-gets an IP address over DHCP and can load stuff over TFTP. Somehow that's not automatic. You need to manually do that, which like do why can Grub not detect that or whatnot? But then, okay, I thought I built here the Grub image, right? Grub here, MK image stuff. I probably do not have that here. I had to reboot for. Do I not have Grub MK? Oh, come on. Okay, Grub here image with stuff, right? MK image and all the arguments. And you can include a config. So I thought like I simply detect if there is not a network address, like in Grub syntax, it's nearly shell, right? If $net interface whatnot stuff, then net bootp, and then because then you don't even have the configuration, right? Like even if you run net bootp, even then you need to manually reset the Grub root and prefix. Like why is that so much manual stuff? Then it turns out I got the most obscure freaking errors. And it's like that. Even that took like nearly 3 bloody hours. Today I learned, like, this is also why all the stuff is here on my Instagram. Like hey, we have net boot. Like the next thing works. Like hey, is that amazing? And then Grub error, like error out of memory, syntax error, like recurring theme here, right? Diagnostics. Test, the only substitute for testing, the only constant is change, also merchandise, right? If you want nice shirts here, like only constant is change and peak bugs and stuff. The only constant, like Linux kernel, change, API cleanup, the only constant is change and regressions, right? If you constantly change shit, you only get regressions because obviously nobody's testing it also, right? What is the other? The only substitute for testing is more testing and diagnostics, freaking diagnostics. I wasted probably a whole year of my life, like 3 hours today, 5 hours there over the years. Like it probably adds up. I probably wasted a whole freaking year of my life only debugging shit because diagnostics suck big times, right? Like, how can the Grub developers freaking think that are useful diagnostics? I was debugging the shit out of Grub until, do you know what was the reason? It took me over an hour just to find out what I mistyped in this. There were multiple things. The first thing is, today I learned in this Grub rescue environment, and there, the documentation is also a little bit unclear. What is it? You can embed a embedded configuration file, right? I knew this, I've done this, and this is a little bit unclear. So right here, Grub supports embedding a configuration file with Grub mk image-c, right, for configuration file into the core image. And I thought if you embed a configuration file, it is a normal configuration file. so that it is load before entering normal mode. This is useful, for example, and so on. Grub install, right, -c, grub mkimage, and so on. I even read the fucking documentation, right? I wasted hours. I used grub for over 10 years. Or, I mean, I used with grub legacy grub for 20 years. And after, so yada, 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 search fs, you can do this, and then it's even like more complex, and then you reach your more complex cases, and right, and they even have here if and stuff. Turns out, no, somewhere it's in the fine print here, like you need to really language lawyer this stuff. The file is copied in core image, may also reside anywhere in the file system, and removed after the image in file. So somewhere here in the fine print, like if you read this debug promise, maybe it's not even, you need to know, like before entering normal mode. I would even after the embedded configuration file, if any is executed, Grub will load the normal module, cnormal, which will then read the real configuration file. So I'm not even sure, on a first glance, I don't even, like basically you need to know that the rescue mode, like only in normal mode, Grub can pass the full configuration file. In this rescue mode, like only direct commands are supported. Like neither, you even the hash for a comment, even for a comment you get a syntax error. There is not even if, like basically I wanted to add, I mean obviously I had to comment, like I had to comment hash auto magically starting network on Apple Macintosh as well. Like even the bloody comment error, like who thinks that is my life, right? Whatever I touch sucks. You want to do something with Grub, sucks. You do something, even you read the freaking documentation, you get out of error, syntax error, like you, what the freaking heck? And this thing here, so basically I couldn't, it means this embedded config here is completely useless. You can only, you can't use comments, you can't use anything sophisticated. The only thing you can do is run some basic comments. Probably, so not even the normal modules. You probably can't even search fs stuff because the normal module is not even loaded. So you can only run direct comments that are supported in, like for example, loading another configuration file. So it was completely useless for me. So I had to mess around with embedding a mem disk with instead of using this bloody, this is so limited and pointless. Like who thought that limited rescue embedded, like who thought that's a good idea? And why not support like if and then statements and like dude, that's so stupid. And Grub is 20 years old. Grub 2 is already 10 years old, right? Like why is this so freaking limited? In normal mode, it annoys me already that Grub doesn't have support for shell-like variable substitution of dollar braces of variable name of either hash for beginning remove, like removing pre and suffixes, or slash like sed like slash substitution, at least bare minimum of whatnot. That would already often be helpful. But like even the embedded configuration is completely useless. So I had, like first I got syntax errors, like hash syntax error, if syntax errors, like dude, what's even freaking going on there? Like I did the most normal thing, I even read the freaking manual. There's even an misleading example because this example you would think belongs to embedded configuration file. No, that is a full configuration file that this will not work in the embedded, like you fix even your freaking, of course if you read the fine print, loading your real configuration with config file whatnot, and in your real configuration file is then that. But yeah, you really need to read every freaking half sentence here. Anyway, this error here, and this is how do I waste 8 hours on network booting all my machines? Because even this Grub shit here took 4 hours. 1 hour there, 1 hour there, nothing worked, like this syntax error is out, syntax error there, and diagnostics. The only substitute for diagnostics is proper useful. Like how is this a freaking useful diagnostic? And do you want to know? It took me over 1 hour to even figure out. This is not the rescue. This is a real configuration file. And I made one typo, which I mistyped one fee, right? I had the if yada yada some stuff, and then here I typed if instead of fee, right? I typed already 100,000 Like how this, I understand it's a freaking, I mean, it's a glorified mini operating system. But this happens if yada yada some stuff if. Then you get out of memory, syntax error, incorrect command, like you, instead of, first of all, out of memory in what? Like the overrunning some buffer? What are you even parsing that you get out of memory there? Probably end of file reached or whatnot out of memory. But anyway, why is there not like fee missing at end of if statement? Yes, it's a bootloader, but like you had 20 years of perfecting your embedded scripting language parsing. And that is why we can't have nice things, right? The booting is cursed for like old, I mean, Apple using non-standard stuff in 4 variants, and then some machines being 64 machines with 32-bit EFI. Then when even Grub doesn't work automatically, if you try to script Grub to work automatically, you get crazy syntax errors. And then, now I solved this with embedding a memdisk for this shit, which could be an early configuration file, but can't because it's such a limited rescue environment. Now I have a memdisk, which then the memdisk, because I used an empty prefix, I had there if prefix empty, then we booted with Apple and don't have a prefix and stuff. The problem was that initially when I started to use a memdisk, I was wondering like, what the freaking heck, what's going on now? Because if you embed a memdisk, then you get the prefix set to like your root set to memdisk and your prefix set to boot grub, which wasn't what I said there. Thanks for that. And then I got out of memory and syntax errors and incorrect commands and stuff. Like, yeah, in the end it worked with the memdisk, but it also took like probably 1 hour to get the bloody memdisk working because the diagnostics were, I mean, it took already 50 minutes to notice it's, if of course, when you know what is the reason, sure, but do I want to learn bugs in Grub to set up early environments? Anyway, at the end, it works now, but this is just like, when it's running, then it's nice. But like this is, why does infrastructure take weeks and stuff to build a data center? Because you need to wire all this cursed shit together, right? Each Hewlett Packard, Dell, not to mention Apple. I mean, obviously nobody's using Apple in data centers anymore. There's Apple Silicon Data Center. Yeah, it's probably why the sales are also falling. Anyway, of course, when everything is working and you have your Snowflake configurations that you can now sell in $100 an hour consulting for other people who want to do infrastructure, because you know all the bootloader, you know all the EFI firmware, you know all the Linux kernel, and everything that could go wrong in life already went wrong. So now you are the person who's like, sure, we can do consulting and set up your data center. It's like, we know all the cursed shit and YOLO all the stuff together. Anyway, just, and this is also like really disappointing, right? Like it could have been, I mean, starting with researching all the Apple bits, but like if Grub would not be so shitty 20 years later, like I would not have wasted 3 hours just on Grub shit in like, anyway, other people would probably have long given up already on setting this up like that. Yeah, so that's probably basically all. All right, the crazy stuff is, even then, last but not least, the last Macs, I actually modified Grub, because that is also stupid, right? Grub, live on Twitch, I modified this to, because Grub takes all interfaces up, which of course I get it, most people only ever had one integrated network interface in their system. I of course have here a Snowflake Mac Pro from the time when we founded our Mac business here. So we don't want to delay, and we have also amazing paperless office and the most outstanding Linux systems, obviously. So I have a Mac Pro here, a super old one, 2.1, with dual Xeon and stuff, and that has two NICs, right? Two network interface controllers. And Grub, like on all other systems, of course I don't have the problem, right? But this thing has two network interfaces. So what happens then here is that Grub unfortunately is so super intelligent to take both up if you do it manually. That is here. And so then not only, obviously, like most people, either you don't have a cable in the second NIC, or you have the rest of your, like you have one outbound level 1 connection there, and then you're inbound, right? It makes completely no sense if you want to network boot this. You don't want to network boot on two interfaces, right? Either you have nothing connected for development workstations, or you have your other network there, and like it's a DHCP server or whatnot for the network. So they iterate here overall. I added here some breaks here. So if I have here some patch that I didn't commit. So this patch works. So the problem is, like, it gets an IP address, like Grub, network booting on such a system gets an IP address on one interface, and then it waits like 30 freaking seconds to time out on the bloody other, and it prints an error, right? So not only does it take forever, then it prints a bloody error. Couldn't auto-configure interface EFI 1. And initially I thought, like, dude, why does this freaking not work? Until I realized, oh wait a second, it does work. I mean, it's just annoying slow, and prints an unrelated error message when the first interface is 0, EFI 0 works. I wanted to patch this away, which obviously worked. There, like, either you limit EFI, like, I didn't commit this yet. The problem is then, like, or like my other patch here is like, it's either here in EFI iterating the EFI interfaces and passing this to Grub internal data structures. And here in bootp, this is the net bootp command. Only using the first, like, either if you specify one using that, or if it's like, in either case, breaking out of the first network interface. So that worked. But then the next problem is, I can use this one here. Like, if you have a Mac without a built-in, like this exploding MacBook Air, which is currently getting pregnant and soon getting a baby MacBook Air, because the battery is exploding because it's Apple quality. So this doesn't have a built-in Ethernet interface, right? And what I forgot, what I actually knew, Apple is creating a fake, like, for their, because Apple is using the MAC address for their UUID authentication with their App Store and all the Apple ID services. So what you probably have seen, what you either have wondered, that if you have such a Mac, it actually shows inside macOS internals that it has an Ethernet interface, but it is not a real one. It's just a fake MAC address, right, for their Apple UUID enumeration. And I didn't expect you also see this in Grub then. So with my patch, like, it worked splendidly on a Mac Pro. I didn't have the bloody timeout and the Ethernet EFI net 1 not auto-configuring. But then my bloody newer Macs with a fake internal MAC address for their Apple App Store authentication and stuff, and FaceTime and so on, also don't work then, right? So unfortunately this patch, so that's good that I didn't commit this yet, because that's testing and testing, right? You test this with 5 Macs and it works until you get the 6th Mac and it fails, right? And I also was not thinking about this. I would also think, like, if they fake some fake virtual Ethernet address, that it's not visible in EFI, but it is. So yeah, with my patch then I got, it failed to auto-configure the fake virtual Ethernet 0 because it's a bloody virtual built-in fake garbage. And it's like, yeah, so much to back to the drawing board. So I thought I would probably do, if I have time, sometime I will probably change the netbootp code to drop out as soon as one interface, like, yeah, of course I can further modify it, right? But that's another hour plus testing. So I will someday, so shellac subscribe, we will another day sometime soon modify Grub to auto-configure both interfaces, but stop trying the other as soon as one, for like a Mac Pro or newer Macs where you plug in a dongle and to boot. That's life of an IT infrastructure person or Linux kernel developer. I hope you enjoyed this summary, late night edition. We will see later how successful this format is. The summary is probably more interesting for a lot of people, because otherwise we would sit here, like, you wouldn't want to watch me 8 hours doing all the stuff. I mean, probably a quick 40-ish, hey, 45. My internal real-time clock still working. So yeah, it's 12, and when do you sleep? Sometimes. I thought androids don't need to sleep. 79 saying 1750X. Yeah, we need some epic thread ripping performance to compile 36 Linux kernel combinations. Did you find out KDE user download a theme? Which, yeah, I saw this. I posted this on our Discord. This is, yeah, modern times, people and their themes. How fast is internet? How fast is his internet? Because the stream, should it not be? Yeah, 0 frames. We have Vodafone's failing DOCSIS here in the center. It's completely garbage, low quality cable. I mean, it's business quality, but 4 years I'm in a fight with. Usually it sucks, so you are lucky that maybe that's a good thing to stream at night, so that actually we get some throughput here. Why would anyone go through this torture? Which torture of fixing all this stuff? Yeah, someone needs to do this, right? Greetings there to Russia. Despite your ongoing war in Ukraine, still loves the normal Russian people who don't support the war. Because Slava Ukraini. For torture, yeah, I mean, there are worse things, like really getting tortured. I mean, it's not my fault that like Apple does cursed shit and Grub is still not amazing. And I mean, we even need to patch in our full disk encryption, right? Like the full disk encryption we're losing is also not upstream in Grub. Like everything you want to do, you need to do yourself. Is T2 good for modern high-end PCs? Of course, I'm live streaming from it. This is freaking T2 Linux, right? So don't delay. Install it everywhere. Today, right? Jupyter Bon, AMD Steam, AMD Custom APU 405, and 7950X. Where is my focus? There's my focus. And of course, yeah, 7950X or Steam Deck or Power Macintosh 686. It doesn't matter. T2 is increasingly the best and last Linux distribution you will ever need, especially for power users. Which this stream is powered by XZ561. No, it isn't, but good joke. You probably, XZ is crazy. Yes, previous video. Random comparison library was, yeah, I mean, backdoor can be in everything, right? Especially like if a library that's exactly, of course, you can, the best backdoors in some libping, right? libjpeg. Some text rendering library used, and you can, like, this is why we need what do you mean with bro read the whole Grub documentation? I read the whole documentation and I'm using it for basically 20 years, 10 years Grub too. It can also not, like, even if I read this, and even if you read this extremely carefully, it could also not, like, sure, if you read it extremely carefully, you can read it out there that the rescue environment doesn't support full scripting, but this is so stupid. It could not even come to my mind that someone implements something that stupid. This is why, like, even, I mean, it's not even clearly, it should be written there. Please keep in mind that in the, because it's not freaking written there, but I probably, here I have it still. Like, it should be written there. Please note that in this early pre-config rescue thing, you can do next to nothing. It's not even comments, like, it's not, it's like, yeah. But, like, dude, if you are so clever, where's a Linux distribution? What else do we have here? Except going to sleep. If you're first time listener, do it, you are it for an ADHD, right? Or what precisely do you mean with it? Think all maintenance generally use AMD64 distribution should drop Grub and BIOS for systemd boot. Systemd is cursed, and like, why would you do the systemd boot? UEFI is completely nonsense. Like, if you think Grub is a mess, then look at the mess that is systemd boot UEFI. Besides, we need something for PowerPC ARM RISC-V anyway. By the name, it looks like. By the name, it looks like shitpost. What do you mean even by that? Probably don't even need. What is hard to believe? Hard to believe. Hard to believe that's live. It's live. So, one last minute. Used Arch and stuff. Just came back Windows because ease of use. Yeah, due Windows. I mean, each time I boot Windows, I'm without Windows since 1996, and each time I touch Windows a little bit, I'm like, due. How can everything be that ugly looking, broken, constantly update loading? Even strange games installing slow, and yeah, play games. That's true. That's unfortunate, but that's why I have a Steam Deck. You can run Linux and play games. Imagine using other people's Arch build scripts. You miss the root point. I also want my Linux to just work. But this is the crazy stuff, right? It somehow feels like very few people fix all the bugs, right? Like everything I touch has some bug, which is somewhat crazy. Ah, darn, why are you so many comments? Midnight, what's this? Midnight session was picking up for my travel today, and then I see. You don't need to watch everything live, but I appreciate this. I thought, like, basically I thought I'd give a quick summary, because otherwise, and that's the thing, right? Of course, people always think like I do here all this stuff and earn big money with YouTube. I'm not yet earning big money with YouTube, but like if I fix all the stuff, like it's boring shit that takes 3 hours debugging shit at a time. And that's why I thought like, yeah, okay, if I could go home, not to bed, or I could give you a quick summary, then I at least have something from, I mean, except we make the world's best Linux distribution increasingly, fixing one thing at a time. But of course, some quick summary 45 minutes later. No, I don't completely ignore it. I just wanted to focus because otherwise people also want to see. So basically like that, the comments are at the end. And otherwise people want to see the summary and not always taking a look at all the comments. So yeah, I appreciate all your comments. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope I answered nearly all of them. And don't forget to subscribe. Maybe drop some token of appreciation to Super Think and Super Chat or Patreon and Discord and stuff, or GitHub sponsor, and then improved x86, Grub support, and other cool stuff, including, where's even my focus now? There's my focus. Yeah, even LED, right? I probably should add this to my to-do. All right, I should actually add to my to-do, finish Grub EFI or Mac EFI multi-NIC patch, and also finish LED input trigger, just so that it's obviously a very good indication that I always wondered for years why Catlog doesn't work in the initRD, but if that is special Snowflake LED module stuff, that certainly makes sense. Although I'm surprised it's separate input LED trigger module stuff, but I mean, yeah, maybe it's sense, maybe it's a little bit too modular, but it is what it is. And better, I like modules. So, I mean, it's a little bit unexpected, but it's not as bad as all the other breakage, like GMA 500 Pulse Bow hanging on boot, or netboot not, like you network boot Grub and your network is not working. Like, I would argue maybe they should have actually implemented detecting that and Intel Macs, and if it's a network boot environment, enable the networks that we need to do it in cursed ways that you can't even script because the early rescue scripting is so limited. Yeah. Anyway, we've done it. I hope you enjoyed to learn something. Leave in the comments below how you like this quick midnight summary. In the meantime, it's probably 1 hour, because after 50 50 something minutes, as usual, especially if I go 10 minutes over the comments. Hope you enjoyed to learn something. Maybe go fix some things because I'm getting tired of fixing everything myself. And see you next time for all the next fixes and improvements to come.